After a few hours, the road became rough, making it difficult for them to walk. The Scarecrow often stumbled over the uneven yellow bricks. As they continued, Dorothy noticed that the farms were not well cared for, with fewer houses and fruit trees. The landscape grew more dismal and lonesome. At noon, they sat by a little brook. Dorothy opened her basket and took out some bread. She offered a piece to the Scarecrow, but he kindly refused. The Scarecrow said, "I'm never hungry. I can't eat because my mouth is only painted. If I cut a hole to eat, the straw would come out and spoil my head's shape." Dorothy understood and continued to eat her bread. Once Dorothy finished her meal, the Scarecrow asked, "Tell me something about yourself and the country you came from." So she told him all about Kansas, and how gray everything was there, and how the cyclone had carried her to this queer land of Oz. The Scarecrow listened carefully and said, "I cannot understand why you should wish to leave this beautiful country and go back to the dry, gray place you call Kansas. No matter how dreary and gray our homes are, we people of flesh and blood would rather live there than in any other country, be it ever so beautiful. There is no place like home." "Of course I cannot understand it," he said. "Won't you tell me a story while we are resting?" asked the child. The Scarecrow looked at her reproachfully and answered, "My life has been so short that I really know nothing whatever. I was only made day before yesterday. What happened in the world before that time is all unknown to me. Luckily, when the farmer made my head, one of the first things he did was to paint my ears, so that I heard what was going on." "How do you like those ears?" the farmer asked. "They aren't straight," answered the other Munchkin. "Never mind," said the farmer. "They are ears just the same," which was true enough. "Now I'll make the eyes," said the farmer. He painted my right eye, and as soon as it was finished, I found myself looking at him and everything around me with a great deal of curiosity, for this was my first glimpse of the world. "That's a rather pretty eye," remarked the Munchkin, watching the farmer. "Blue paint is just the color for eyes." "I think I'll make the other a little bigger," said the farmer. When the second eye was done, I could see much better than before. He had the fun of watching them make his body, arms, and legs, and when they finally fastened his head, he felt very proud, believing he was just as good a man as anyone. "This fellow will scare the crows fast enough," said the farmer. "He looks just like a man." "Why, he is a man," replied the friend, and the farmer agreed. The farmer carried him under his arm to the cornfield and set him up on a tall stick, where he found himself standing. He did not like being left alone, so he tried to walk after them. However, his feet would not touch the ground, forcing him to remain on the pole. It was a lonely life to lead, for I had nothing to think of, having been made such a little while before. Many crows and other birds flew into the cornfield, but as soon as they saw me, they flew away again, thinking I was a Munchkin, and this pleased me and made me feel that I was quite an important person. By and by an old crow flew near me, and after looking at me carefully, he perched upon my shoulder and said, "Any crow of sense could see that you are only stuffed with straw. If you only had brains in your head, you would be as good a man as any of them, and a better man than some of them. Brains are the only things worth having in this world, no matter whether one is a crow or a man." After the crows had gone, I thought this over and decided I would try hard to get some brains. By good luck, you came along and pulled me off the stake, and from what you say, I am sure the great Oz will give me brains as soon as we get to the Emerald City. "It is such an uncomfortable feeling to know one is a fool." "Well," said the girl, "let us go," and she handed the basket to the Scarecrow. Toward evening, Dorothy and the Scarecrow arrive at a vast forest. The trees are so big and densely packed that their branches meet above the yellow brick road, creating a canopy. It grows almost dark under the thick trees as their branches block out the daylight. Nevertheless, Dorothy and the Scarecrow press on into the shadowy forest. The Scarecrow contemplates, saying, "If this road goes in, it must come out. Since the Emerald City is at the end of the road, we must follow it." Dorothy replies, "Anyone would know that." The Scarecrow humorously responds, "Certainly, that is why I know it. If I needed brains to figure it out, I wouldn't have said anything." After some time, the light completely fades and they stumble in the darkness. Dorothy is unable to see, but her dog Toto can see well in the dark, while the Scarecrow claims he can see just as well as during the day. Dorothy asks the Scarecrow, "If you see any house or place to stay for the night, please tell me. It's very uncomfortable walking in the dark." Shortly after, the Scarecrow stops. The Scarecrow exclaims, "I see a little cottage to our right, built of logs and branches," signaling a possible place for them to rest. Dorothy asks the Scarecrow if they should continue their journey. He agrees, showing their determination to move forward. The Scarecrow leads Dorothy through the dense trees until they arrive at a quaint cottage. Inside, Dorothy discovers a bed made of dried leaves in one corner, perfect for resting. Feeling exhausted, Dorothy quickly lies down. With Toto, her loyal dog, curled beside her, she soon falls into a deep and peaceful sleep. While Dorothy sleeps soundly, the Scarecrow, who never tires, quietly stands in a corner, patiently waiting for morning to arrive.